Hello, 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 my lovelies. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if it is your first time here. Today, we are going to be discussing my summer TBR. Folks, there's a lot to discuss today. There's a lot to go through. We have books to discuss that are coming. Oh my god, I didn't put in earrings. I did not put in earrings, and I know you guys care about that. Let me go put on some earrings so I feel like a human. Be right back. Okay, don't fret, we are back, and we are ready to talk summer books. As I was saying, we have a lot to get through today. We're going through books that are going to be released in June, July, and August. Then we will be discussing my physical TBR and end with Kindle Unlimited picks for summer. Buckle up, get a bevy, get a snack, because we are going to town today. Before we get too far into it, if you're excited about summer reading like I am, make sure you give this video a like, leave a comment, let me know what's on your summer TBR, or if you get any ideas from this video for your summer TBR. And if you are feeling generous, go ahead and subscribe. If you'd like to see more content from me, stick around. I'd love to have you in our community. All that said, let's get into the summer TBR. I mean, I kind of killed that intro. What do you guys think? Is that okay? I think I kind of killed it. Okay, time to focus up. Because I am so type A, we have 6 releases to talk about for each month this summer. Of course, there are more coming out than that. If there's one that I don't talk about that you're excited for, leave it in the comments so I can put it on my radar. But let's get into the 6 books I'm excited for that are coming out in June. Keying off with one I'm actually not all that excited for. But nonetheless, I know a lot of people loved the first one, so I wanted to make sure you knew that the second one was coming out this month. That is Leather and Lark, coming out on June 4th. This is the second in the trilogy by Brynne Weaver. The first one was Butcher and Blackbird. This one features a contract killer who wants to forget his past, stop doing that job, and just work in this leather studio. He ends up botching a job for his boss's biggest client and realizes he will never be able to claw his way out of the underworld until he runs into Lark, who makes him a deal where she can secure his freedom. They irritate each other, they butt heads, but of course we know how it's gonna end. I will not be picking this one up, but I love it for you girls. You girls with strong stomachs, you keep enjoying this trilogy. I love it for you. Next, the book I'm most excited for in June is Not in Love by Hazelwood. This is her newest contemporary romance, and it comes out June 11th. This is another STEM romance, what she is known for, and she does so well. In this, our main female character has a stable life, career, etc., and she thinks she has everything she wants until this man comes into the picture who's trying to take over her company, and he should be the enemy, but she kind of has the hots for him. It's a secret, forbidden affair between them, with the deadline being when one of the companies prevails. So I'm excited about it. I mean, I feel like she is in her realm, she knows what she's doing, and I can't wait. On the 11th, the Rom-Commers by Katherine also comes out. I loved The Bodyguard by her, so I'm super excited to see what she does next. This is another contemporary romance. In this one, our main character wants to be a screenwriter, and she gets the opportunity to rewrite a script of a very famous screenwriter who happens to be her hero, but as you know, you should always meet your heroes. He's not very happy to be working with her, and he doesn't believe in the rom-com genre or romance and love in general, so she needs to change his mind, and they need to write this script together. I feel like I'm gonna have to pick this one up the day it comes out, because it sounds like rom-com perfection. Next, on the 18th, One Star Romance comes out by Hankin. In this book, a struggling writer has to walk down the aisle at her best friend's wedding with a man who gave her book a very public 1-star rating. This is, of course, a romantic comedy, and I believe that this author has said this actually happened to her. So I feel like she's writing from experience. I think it's going to be so fun. I can't wait to see the chemistry and the banter, and this will be my first read from this author. Next, on the 25th, there are 2 books coming out. The first one is A Novel Love Story by Poston. I've seen so many of my book friends read this one and they've been giving it tremendous reviews, so I can't wait to get my hands on it. In this novel, our main character is a big bookworm and she's a professor of literature. She kind of escapes the world through books, especially because she's dealing with hard times in her personal life. But then her car breaks down unexpectedly going somewhere, and she just so happens to be trapped in the town where her favorite romance series is set. This sounds like such an incredible premise. I'm so excited to pick this one up. It's every romance girlie's dream, really. The next book coming out that same day is We Shall Be Monsters by Tara Sim. This one is a fantasy retelling. It is also YA. And this one is a Frankenstein-esque story meets Indian mythology. It's supposed to be dark and twisty and atmospheric. I feel like this one would be really fun to pick up as fall starts to roll around. On to July, I'm going to start with one that I know all the book girlies are so excited about. The second book in the Powerless trilogy comes out on July 2nd. This one is called Reckless. This series is by Lauren Roberts. This series is about Peyton Gray, who ends up being put into the purging trials, which is a competition between the elite and powerful, but she happens to be an ordinary, which is looked down upon. In fact, all the ordinaries have been banished from their society, so she's to hide in plain sight. The end of this one had a huge cliffhanger. I'm excited to see where the series goes in this next installment. Next, on the 16th, we have 2 novels being released, starting with Not a Love Song by Julie Soto. This one is about a rivaling violinist and cellist competing for center stage, and I have heard so many raves about this, and it's right up my alley. I played the cello growing up, so I'm excited to see what she does with this. It'll be my first read from her, but I've heard a lot of good things about the steam in this one, so you know I'll be picking it up. The other one that's coming out is Business Casual. This is number 4 in the Love Light series. This one features Nava and Charlie, and he's trying to help her business, but they have intense chemistry that they can't ignore. So they decide to have a one-night stand, no strings attached. But we all know how that goes. So if you love this series by B.K. Borison, you're gonna have to pick up this installment. And finally, on the 30th, 2 other books come out, starting with The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one, I think, is kind of a spin-off series from the Inheritance game. It is still about Avery and the Hawthorne brothers, but it is also introducing a new cast of characters. It's like season 2, you know, new people are coming in the picture because they're hosting an annual competition to see who will win the spotlight, the fame, etc. I think this one will be full of more puzzles and games, and hopefully we'll get to see more of the Hawthorne brothers because that's why we're all here. And lastly, in July, Beneath These Cursed Stars comes out by Lexi Ryan. This, I think, is a spin-off from These Hollow Vows. If you know, you know. That first book is absolutely my guilty pleasure, so I'm so excited. She's adding more to the plot. This one is about a fae shifter and a human princess who has the gift of Death's Kiss. Why can't I just do this? Okay. Our princess is secretly leaving the castle at night to use the kiss of death on her enemies. She ends up linking up with Felicity, the fae shifter, and they end up coming to an agreement where she'll pretend to be the princess for her. So I think there's secret identity, magic and prophecies, and family, all the things we're looking for. And I do believe that this one has spoilers for the duology before. So if you want to pick this one up, I would suggest you read These Hollow Vows and I think These Broken Vows. I'll put them on the screen too, but I suggest reading those before you pick this one up. Also on the 30th, Long Live Evil comes out. This one is by Sara, Rees, Brennan. And this one is for people who love the villain. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. We all love the villain. Our main character's life kind of turned on its head. She's dying, but she loves to escape through books. She ends up getting a second chance at life through a magical bargain where she gets to enter her favorite fantasy series and meets the alluring villain. And it turns out in this fantasy world, she's not the heroine, perhaps the villainess. I love it. I'm living for it. This sounds so fun. This sounds, again, this is like a fantasy lover's dream. Moving on to August, these are the final 6 releases I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get into that physical TBR. Starting with Death at Morning House. This is by Maureen Johnson, the author of the Truly Devious series, which I loved. I'm so happy she's coming out with something new. This is a standalone YA mystery where our main character is a tour guide on this island, and she must solve the mysteries of this house before history repeats itself. Definitely gonna pick this one up, hopefully the day of. I don't know if I mentioned, but that one comes out on the 6th, and so do these next 2. The next one is The Truth According to Ember. This one is by Danica Nava. This is about a Chickasaw woman who feels like she can't catch a break in life, so she cooks up a little white lie that might just take off into much, much more. This is a romantic comedy, and it is her debut novel. She ends up lying about her ethnicity on a job application, but she's not too worried about it because she gets her dream job and she meets a guy there. But they happen to be caught in a compromised position on a work trip, and Ember begins to be blackmailed for this. Her life is spinning out of control, so she has to make the hard decision on stay silent or come clean. The last one that comes out on the 6th is The Girl with No Reflection. This is by Keshi Chow, if I'm saying that right. It is about a young woman who's chosen to be the crowned prince's bride. On the eve of her wedding, she's pulled into this mirror realm where she meets a prince who is the exact opposite of the one she's supposed to marry. He's kind and compassionate, but there is darkness everywhere she goes. And she realizes she has a part to play in this crazy world, and she does not want the same fate that has fallen upon brides before her to happen to her as well. So it's very interesting because very fairy tale with the dark and the light and the princess vibe, so I'm very excited to pick this one up. Next is Haunted Ever After. This one is by Jen DeLuca. I am so excited about this one. It sounds so fun. In this one, our main character wants to escape the pressures of her regular life and all of her friends getting married and having babies, and so she decides to buy a cottage in this haunted small town in Florida. When she gets there, she ends up hitting it off with the grumpy coffee shop owner, and they start looking into her home, and they figure out it might be truly haunted after all. I'm excited. I feel like that's a great early fall, late summer book. So, you know, I've already ordered it. Let me speak my truth. Also on the 13th of August, the second in the House of Dead duology comes out. It is Ghostsmith by Nikki Prato. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But this is the second one to The Bonesmith. It is a young adult fantasy that's supposed to be dark, kind of giving Gideon the Ninth vibes with Game of Thrones elements, about a disgraced ghost fighter who must journey through haunted wastelands to rescue a kidnapped prince. So that is the description of the first one, and this is the second in the duology. I haven't picked up the first one yet, but I am very enticed to get to this duology. The last book coming out is Love and Other Conspiracies by Mallory Maylor. This one comes out on the 20th. It is a debut romantic comedy between a paranormal conspiracy theorist and a web series producer, so very unique jobs, lifestyles, who might find love in unexpected places. This one has such a cute cover. It looks so fun. I can't wait to pick up this debut. We did it, y'all. Those are all the books coming out this summer that I am dying to pick up. As I said, if you have any that I haven't mentioned yet that you're excited for, please leave them in the comments so I can add them to this never-ending TBR. It is time to get to the books that are on my physical TBR. So I have 8 physical books on my TBR to show you. And after that, I will also give you 8 books on my Kindle Unlimited TBR for the summer. And that'll do it, folks. I know these videos are like one of my favorites to film because there's nothing like talking about all the books you want to read. But also, man, am I giving you too much information. Stick with me, y'all. Stick with me. We are going to start with the contemporary romances on my shelf that I want to get to this summer, starting with What Happens After Midnight. This one is by K.L. Walther. I read her debut novel, The Summer of Broken Rules, and really enjoyed myself. This one is about Lily, who is about to graduate boarding school, and she's worried that she's missed out on all the fun parts of high school. She decides to join the anonymous jester of her class to pull off all these pranks before the end of the year. It sounds cute, easy to read, and I think it would be really good to get to right at the beginning of June to kick off summer. Next, I have Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This one I've been meaning to get to forever, but I felt like I needed to wait till summer to really pick this one up. This is a brother's best friend, cowboy romance. That's all I know and that's all I need to know. She's kind of off limits, is a little bit forbidden, but obviously they fall in love anyways. Next is Float Plan by Trisha Doller. This one is about a widowed woman who is dealing with grief of losing her fiance, and she decides to take this boat trip they're planning to take together by herself, and she ends up hiring a professional sailor to help her pull it off. As they're sailing together, some sparks fly and they realize it's never too late to chart a new course. So punny. But I've heard great things about this one. I know a lot of people love it, so I'm excited to get to this. And my last contemporary romance one before we look at the more fantasy-esque picks is This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. It says this summer they'll keep their promise, they won't give in to temptation, and it will be different. In this one, Lucy is a tourist on this island and she meets a local who's showing her a good time, but then she finds out that this man happens to be her best friend's brother. I really like her writing, so I feel like I will eat this one up very quickly. On to the fantasy-esque books on my physical TBR, starting with Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. That is quite the name, Miss Levenseller. In this one, our 17-year-old female main character is the pirate captain, and she allows herself to be captured by her enemies because she's in search of an ancient hidden map. I feel like this one is going to be so juicy because there might be a little bit of a connection between her and her captor. What more could a girl ask for? Next is Curious Tides by Pascal Selle. This one seems so interesting. It is about Emery, who is at this prestigious magic college, and in this world, their magic is controlled, I think, by the tides and the moons. The aesthetic is everything to me. But she ends up trying to figure out why all these students have drowned, and she has questions about this cult-like society that is on campus. And she has even more questions when these people start washing ashore alive. So it seems super interesting. This one is YA. I'm so excited to pick this up. I hope it kind of has a mermaid, siren, witch vibe to it. That's what I'm after. Y'all cannot shame me for not picking this one up yet. It is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I know everyone and their mom has read this. I get it, but I'm just getting to it. This is a Greek retelling about Achilles. Really, that's what I know about it, and I'd like to go in just knowing that. I've heard it is a heartbreaking story, so I'm just gonna go in knowing as little as possible and see where it takes me. But if you've read this one, let me know what you think, because I know this is an OG favorite of a lot of people. So if you love it, let me know. And the last book on my physical TBR is The Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas. This author wrote The Cemetery Boys, which I loved so much, so I'm so excited to pick up something else by them. But in this book, every decade they have to replenish the sun's power so the soul can keep running as normal and keeping the gods and chaos at bay. People are selected to compete in the Sunbearer Trials. Our main character is 17 and is a trans son of the goddess of birds. This one seems super interesting and I can't wait to get to it. Again, I loved their other books, so I know I'm in for a treat. All right, y'all, we're losing daylight. I know I've talked your ear off. We have 8 more books to talk about, and they all happen to be Kindle Unlimited books. I do own a few physically, even though they're on Kindle, so I will show those, and I will put pictures in of the other ones. With that said, let's just get into the details. Let's start with The Bridge Kingdom. This is by Daniel L. Jensen. I own the first 2, but I think this series might already have 4 or 5 installments. I own The Bridge Kingdom and The Traitor Queen. I'm so excited to get to this one. It is romantic-y. I think it is enemies to lovers. I ended up reading her newest release this year, A Fate Inked in Blood, and I really enjoyed a lot of that. So I'm hoping I love this series. It is about a warrior princess trained in isolation, and she's driven by two certainties. The first is that the king of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she'll be the one to bring him to his knees. And honey, we know what she means by that. So I'm excited to start this series, especially because I do own them physically as well as on Kindle Unlimited. The next fantasy from KU is Fortune of Emerald and Salt. This is by Monroe Wildflower. It is a YA fantasy about seafaring pirates. I'm obviously in my pirate era. Is that a thing? I'm making it a thing right now. It is pirate time. That's what summer is. In this book, we have twin captain pirates who make a deal with the king to transport this precious cargo in exchange for some long lost treasure. However, they start to feel misled by this decision because I think the cargo is a princess who is being sent to procure peace between the two countries. Romance a brewing, and they have to decide what to do and what the right thing is. And again, they're sailing because they're pirates. I don't know, I'm vibing the pirates, so we'll see how that one goes. I've heard some good things. Next, I have 3 thriller mysteries to share with you. So both of these are kind of giving domestic thriller vibes. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Every Last Secret by A.R. Tor. This is about a new couple moving next door, and they welcome them with open arms. But the wife seems very jealous about what's happening next door, and she wants her life. It says all she wants is the good life. Right now it belongs to someone else, but not for long. So her infatuation kind of grows to obsession, and we'll see where that goes from there. Very much giving domestic thriller. Honestly, this one seems pretty similar. It's The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. This one is about Amber Patterson, who's kind of upset and tired of her life being a nobody and feeling invisible, and she deserves a good life like Daphne Parrish. She creates a meticulous scheme to get what Mrs. Parrish has. So we'll see how those go. They seem similar, but they also seem kind of outside of what I'd normally read. And the last thriller I have for you before we get to our 2 romances is My Ties and Murders by Lydia Lane. So My Ties and Murders is the first in this beach cocktail mystery series. They're kind of giving cozy mystery, and they follow a jilted bride and a divorcee as they stumble upon different crimes and murder scenes. In this first one, our main character goes on her honeymoon despite being left at her rehearsal dinner by her fiance, and she ends up finding a dead body floating in the bay. So we'll see how I like this one. I don't always love cozies, but I do have a few cozy series that I'm obsessed with. And lastly, I'm going to share 2 romances with you, and then I'm going to get out of your hair. I'm going to let you go on with the rest of your day. Hopefully you got some good recs, but let's finish strong. Starting with The Touch of a Villain by Holly Renee. I've never read anything by her, but I've heard tremendous things. Let me just read this little description to you because it's so like iconic. Young, wealthy, elite, the boys of Claremont Bay ruled over this town as if it was their kingdom, and Beck Claremont controlled them all. He was arrogant and conceited, and from the moment I met him, he had made up his mind about me. Dangerously handsome, wickedly cruel, he had no intention of letting me spend my senior year under the radar. The secret of old money ran deep, and even though I barely knew him, the sins of my family have put a target on my back. He was a hurricane, and I wasn't prepared for the storm. I mean, come on, that book is gonna have me eating out of the palm of his hand. And the last book I have to share with you is A Deal with the Devil. This one is by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This description also slays. He may not be the devil, but working under him for 6 weeks is my idea of hell. He is an arrogant jerk who is best known for his British charm that he spreads all over Hollywood, but never with the same woman twice. He's the last person I want to work for, except he's a face I can't look away from, and the longer we're together, the harder he is to hate, because maybe under that smug exterior is a heart he doesn't want to show. A part of me wants to fix it for him before I leave, but can I do that without breaking my own heart in the process? Let me just say, these descriptions are killing the game. Oh my gosh, those are all the books on my never-ending TBR for summer. I mean, you guys, we got to get with the program. I got to be reading 12 hours a day to get through all of these. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I was able to give you some new recs for the summer ahead. Thank you for bearing with me being here. I love getting to make this content for you, and hopefully we can all chat in the comments about what we're reading this summer. But until then, y'all, I gotta love you and leave ya. So, you know what time it is. Cheers.